Okay, so it is December 27th, 2022, about 7:09 in the morning. I'm in the Lausanne train station right now, in a train on the way to Villeneuve to start my, I think, 10th marathon of the year. Today I'm going to go to Villeneuve and then walk back from Villeneuve to my house, which is about 42 kilometers. We'll see exactly how much. I've already done almost a kilometer to get to the train station, so we'll have a nice day. The sun should come out on the lake, but it could probably be cloudy at the beginning. And here we are looking at another train pulling in to the station. It's still dark, but the sun should be just coming up about the time I get off the train. Okay, so we are at the end of the lake at Villeneuve, and it is not as light as I thought it was going to be. This is really the kind of the official start point of the marathon. And we have to walk all the way up the lake there, or back to the halfway point of the lake, more or less. We'll see how long it takes. It's about not quite 8 in the morning, and the sun will set in 9 hours. Probably be getting home just about then. So this is, I think, one of the ugliest parts of Switzerland. I'm not talking about the castle, I'm talking about this highway that was put in right over the castle. So here we've got the central landmark of Switzerland. It's iconic, and a highway devoted to the motor car directly over it. And this is Switzerland, which is really, really good at doing what? At putting in tunnels. So why this highway has to go right over its iconic landmark is just a mystery that I'll never understand. So getting a little bit closer to the castle, and you can see the highway still up overhead. Zoom in a little bit, and we will be there in probably about 10 minutes. Got this train going through the castle. I think this is the best view we're going to get of the chateau from this side of the chateau. And while it's starting to get brighter, so we've got pink in the sky. We don't have the pink to the east where the sun is coming up, but we do have the pink overlooking the lake to coming up towards the west onto the direction of Geneva. So this is very close to the Chateau de Chillon. This is where the boat comes. If you come here in the spring, you can see, or during the summer, you can take the boat anywhere along the lake. It's a really beautiful trip, of course, filled with tourists, but that's because it's beautiful and a great day out. Now it's going to take probably an hour longer than I was projecting, now that I think about it, because I'll be doing all these photo stops, and of course that slows things down. So this is interesting. The photo that I wanted is through that circle of the Chateau de Chillon. But as I'm approaching, I'm seeing somebody who's fishing, and clearly visible through that circle. So I actually might not get the photo that I want, but this is a photo that I'm getting, actually, on a video. I won't get it, I won't take out the nice camera to really get that. Or maybe I should take out the nice camera and get that set up. But we've still got the sun rising, beautiful mountains, and there's our castle now seen from the other side. And where's our starting point? Our starting point is somewhere down there, is the town of Villeneuve. So, again, coming in on the castle. So getting closer to Montreux, and there's somebody having a nice morning workout along the lake. Getting closer into Montreux right now, and here they've got all sorts of usually nice little sculpture things. It changes, sometimes it's topiaries like this, some little cat, and of course we can see the mountains down towards the end of the lake, beyond the end of the lake. That's looking into the Alps. A jogger is passing, you can probably hear the footsteps. And oh, they're walkers with walking sticks like I have. And that's the path we'll be heading up towards. Now there are going to be a series of bronze cats along the boardwalk in Montreux as we come into Montreux. I'm not going to take pictures of every single one, but here while we're getting to the first one in the direction we're coming from, it's cute. And also you get to see one of the boat stops, one of the docks. It's not in function at this time of year. Nice. Ooh. We'll be walking past, I'll probably walk past a couple of dozen of these, but I won't take pictures of all of them. So we made it to the famous Freddie Mercury sculpture here in Montreux, and there is a large gathering of people from somewhere in Asia, speaking an Asian language. A temporary Christmas installation there. So, there we go, me and Freddie. So now it is 2 days after Christmas, and we're picking up from the Christmas market. This is a very cute little vehicle that is driving along with Christmas trees, and you can see the rest of the Christmas market is closed. I know all of these little stands are going to go away. Now, last time I was on my marathon, I guess the end of November, this whole thing was so chock-a-block filled with people that I could barely move. It was like a kilometer and a half, 2 kilometers of torture. Here we are now, that 7 kilometers in of walking already today, so still a way to go. For one time, it's a car that's crashed on by a cat. And now we've broken out of the main tourist area, so the rest of the walk should be a little bit more isolated, but we still got some time here on the boardwalk in Montreux. I'd forgotten about this. This is where Tolstoy lived or spent time while he was in Montreux. And here now the sun is coming out up above the mountain, and it is getting super bright and a lot warmer, so I'm going to have to take off some layers, which is why I have a backpack, and I have 4 layers on. And there is the backpack and the walking sticks, and of course the phone and the gloves, and the scenery and the roar of a bus in the background. And I think this is actually the place that Tolstoy lived, since there's a sign saying where the entrance is, and there's another sculpture nearby. So now I am about to get to probably the least pleasant part of the walk. We'll be going along the road for a few kilometers, which does not make this for the most pleasant part, but you know, we'll walk through it, and then after that there's very little road for the rest of the way. I have been known to stop at one of those benches and enjoy my lunch or a snack along the way. I don't need to do that today because the timing is such that I don't have hunger at the moment, but I will probably be getting to Vevey in time to get a nice burrito, so that's going to be a very nice addition to the day. I wasn't really planning on it. I had actually baked some bread yesterday to bring along, but then it didn't seem like it was going to be a nice bread for a lunch along the way, so I was just going to stop and buy a sandwich at a co-op, but I will instead enjoy that in a few kilometers, and I'll enjoy anticipating that burrito during the next several kilometers. There's about half a kilometer where we duck off the road that we've been on for about half a kilometer or close to a kilometer, trying to walk along where there's this nice campground. This campground is only open, as we just saw on the sign, from April to October, but doesn't mean that you can't enjoy coming down and having a look at the lake. You can see that we're right below the busy street, which can get pretty noisy, and I'll be back on that pretty soon. Here we are popping up back to the road, and you can see we're at a bus stop. Somebody is speaking in an African language. Usually when you see somebody at a bus stop in Switzerland, that means the bus is about to come, but sometimes if they don't quite time it right. So here is the bus coming, so I was right. The woman was been there for not very long, and we've already got the bus coming, drowning out the noise, but then you can see this is now the direction we're going to be heading down the lake towards Lausanne, but first we have to get to Vevey. This would now be the least pleasant part of the entire walk, as we get to get along a car dealership, quite sometime along the road. Sometimes it's just really noisy. Right now it's not as noisy because it's cars and trucks, but I won't inflict you with waiting to see how unpleasant it actually can be. But we'll be off it soon enough and back into the really nice part along the lake. And we will be off the road soon enough. We're entering La Tour de Pelle. This would of course be the actual Tour de Pelle. This is kind of the starting point for the half marathon, the official Lausanne half marathon, which is part of the full marathon, but the only time I've run it, done the half when I've actually run. So back at the lake, another lovely, charming marina. And now we're back down along the lake. We'll be walking down this nice tree-lined corridor there. And over here we see the town of Vevey coming into view. We'll be walking through that. We have reached the food museum, where they have this intriguing sculpture of a fork in the water. And we're looking back towards Montreux, where we've come from. Across the lake to France. Mountains, still top of the mountains are covered in clouds. And people out enjoying the day. And here we have the food museum. I've never been in the food museum. I did write to them once about their website, which had a horrible web design that was gray and small letters, and so very difficult to see if you have a problem. I haven't gone back and seen. I wrote to them and asked them if they could correct it. They said, oh yes, we'll look into that, but I haven't gone back and checked. But they'll do that. Wow, did they up their game. They've gone from a very poor small letters and light gray that only a 20 or 30-year-old web designer who thinks they'll be able to see everything forever could appreciate, to high contrast. Look at that white text embedded in the red, so you can really see that with any visual impairment, with a visual impairment like mine anyway. So this is a definite improvement over last time I visited their site and before I wrote into them. Oh, and I forgot, right in front of the elementary museum is this Charlie Chaplin sculpture, which is just a little thing, but Charlie Chaplin did live in Vevey for some time. We've arrived in Vevey in the town, and I was walking through and I just spotted that there's this mural up here painted onto a building, so I thought we would walk up the street and give it a gander. That's pretty cute. Well, we're at my favorite burrito place in Vevey, and the hours are right. I'm here just before 11:30, but unfortunately Christmas closure for the week, so I will, not actually hungry right now, I will see if I end up getting something in about an hour or 2 hours farther down the road. This here is a massive travesty. We've got this lovely central area of Vevey right by the water. This could be a great park, and instead it is a great parking lot. So I don't know, was confusing the words travesty and tragedy because it is both. But they do have a noontime Tuesday market going on, so at least they're using it for something. And there is a nice building just around the corner here that sometimes they have public concerts and stuff, but really having it overlooking just being a parking lot is an abomination, I think, in what should have been city planning to make this into one of the nicest places along the lake, and instead of just one of the least pleasant to be at. We have now arrived at Nestle, the Nestle Corporation's global headquarters. We are in front of their big building, but we will get a much better view of this in just a couple of minutes. This is the global headquarters of the Nestle Corporation, wishing us a nice, happy bon fête, happy holidays, and a happy new year. We'll get a better view of the architecture here when we get up into the hills. So now we are in the funicular of Vevey that goes up into the hills. I'm not actually going to take the funicular. I have been in this vehicle one time in my life. That was an extremely memorable day. Now it's, you can see that this goes up, 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 up. It was an extremely memorable day because we're on this particular funicular, so I thought I would stop by and have a look. Well, this is a bit of a problem because this is where I was expecting to get some water, but it's turned off because of the winter, even though, as one can see, in this era of global melting, there actually is no winter happening. We did have a little snow a couple of weeks ago, but it's all gone, and it is a toasty warm day. I'm sure I'll find water somewhere along the line, but this is where I was planning to stop and have a little break. I'm not sure I've ever stopped here really to appreciate this view. Actually, so there is the Nestle headquarters, and I missed getting a good shot of the Nestle headquarters. I was not looking backward. Usually I walk from home towards Villeneuve, and this time I walked the other way, so I missed that shot, but maybe I'll be able to find a picture of it, of the Nestle headquarters from above. I think I've taken some in the past, so I can totally find it on my phone. I did manage to stop and get some water. I got off the route. I missed a turn, so I went up 100 meters or so out of the way. And I have to turn back, but back on the route. I think I've done this route a lot more going from home to Montreux than the other direction. Now, either these people missed their turn or they live really close by, but I've made that mistake too and gotten onto that road, and then you end up having cars zooming past you, even though it's seems like a quiet country road. You end up with cars zooming past you, and it's just not a pleasant place. Here comes another car, and it's fortunately pausing for this car to walk past, but there really is no pedestrian option there at all. But you can see here we are now starting to get into the wine country. So there are no grapes at the moment because it is officially winter time. But we will have some more shots, I'm sure, of some of the vineyards in their winter cloaks. Now we are coming to an incredibly dangerous intersection for pedestrians. Here, and there is a train going by. It's a nice thing to see. But here is the road. And the road is an 80-kilometer-an-hour road. And then there's an intersection, and it comes around a corner, goes around a curve. And then the curve is where pedestrians pop out from this official pedestrian walkway. But there is no crosswalk, and nothing that would stop a car is going too fast. And unfortunately, cars come up here and go way the heck too fast. And they have to right? Because it's an 80-kilometer-an-hour zone, because when you're between towns, the default is 80 kilometers an hour. So even though here we are at an official pedestrian walkway, the cars have the right of way. Now what happens here, this car is going to stop because it has to, because I'm walking across. But here, down the hill. But you can see that normally cars are going to come zooping along. And so I found this very, very dangerous, and I wrote to the town where this is and said, why don't you have a crosswalk? Speed bump. We can't do that because it is an 80-kilometer zone, and so the cars we do not have stop crosswalk, we do not do speed bumps. I'll show you the letter when I get home. And my thought is, well, why are you making an 80-kilometer-an-hour zone instead of just saying, okay, here we've got a major pedestrian tourist route, and we are just going to make the cars slow down so that we have safety. But no, we cannot do that because the rules are the rules. Land and the pedestrians should know that this is a dangerous zone, even though of course we have pedestrians coming from all over the world to enjoy this area. Now you're not going to see too many pedestrians today because it is a Tuesday in the middle of Christmas vacation, so Swiss people are doing other things for vacation, and other people who might otherwise tourist into Switzerland are not going to know about coming out to Vevey, to this particular area for a walk. But often it's fairly busy, especially on a Saturday or a Sunday. Now we are at kilometer 20.8, and up on that hill there is what I found was 21.1 kilometers back home, from home to there, so I think we're right on target for the marathon distance today. It varies depending on what routes I end up taking, and I will pause when I get to that hill to have my banana smoothie. So now we are coming towards the village of Cry. I think I just heard a train going by. I don't know if you can see where Cry is, but now I'll swing around, and over there's the French side again, and I'm going to flip the camera around, and then I will be able to make sure that I can zoom in on Cry. Okay, there's Cry, C-U-L-L-Y, Cully is how an English speaker might pronounce it. Not to be confused with the town we'll come through later called Puy, which is spelled P-U-L-L-Y, which is Pulley, I guess, in English. But soon we're going to go through that little village there where our friend actually lives, but I'm going to stop and visit him. We will go down there and walk along the coast for a little while, and then we'll come back up into the vineyards for a while, and then the rest of the way will be along the lake. So I am going to go walking down to that train station just there, and I'm going under it to get to the lake. Now normally, if I'm going the other direction, I do a higher level route because this is a steep staircase down. But for this, going back, I will enjoy going down. Here comes a train. It's not going to stop here, but you can see it do the Swiss thing. We just actually missed the train that goes all the way to Milan. It's swooping past. And then up there, you can see those mountains there are not Alps. Those are Jura. The Jura Mountains, where Jurassic comes from. Because the dinosaurs' skeletons, the dinosaur fossils were found there and dated to the dinosaur epoch, the dinosaur era. So that's the smaller Swiss mountain range. But yes, over there are the French Alps still, and coming back across here we've got more vineyards, and some Swiss Alps. So back down to lake level. So where we just were, somewhere up there, that's where we were looking down at the train station. Now we're looking up at the little train platform. Came through that tunnel. So I came through that tunnel. But I was down some very steep stairs that are actually quite tricky when you only have one eye. But fortunately there's a handrail that you can move most of the way. Although there's a part that runs into a rose bush. And then we'll come back down here. And this will bring us along the lake for a kilometer or so, and then back up into the wine drink. A nice little reflection in some glass along as we were going along a marina. And there is yours truly, the videographer. I didn't find anything that looked particularly interesting to take pictures of in Puy, but now I have passed Puy on the way towards Lausanne. So we've got still more of the gorgeous lake, but we're coming back into the vineyards. I'm not sure whether I'll take a picture of the vineyards, but we shall see what looks good and interesting to take pictures of. There's some vineyard there. And the Jura Mountains. As we come toward the end of the vineyards part of the walk, I do want, it's beautiful, but I do want to get in a note that was here in the spring walking through, and there was just constant application of pesticides onto all of the grapes. And it really turned me off to the wine that comes from here, because it felt like it was, kind of a lot of poison going onto the grapes. So I actually don't drink the wine from here in Vevey. I drink organic wines whenever I can, when I happen to be drinking wine, and have found that there's some really good organic wine coming from Sicily. So unfortunate that this beautiful grape growing area does not make, although it's tasty wine, it's not beautiful to consume and put into your body and put into the environment in the production process. Had to pop back out on the main road for probably about, half a kilometer or a kilometer. But what I found interesting, and the reason I stopped here, is that I had never actually noticed something like this in Switzerland before. It is a car with a Ukrainian plate. So we are now about 6 kilometers from Lausanne, and we are now at the 30 kilometer, just crossed about 30 kilometers on the walk. So let's see how much left. Have to go up and over that little bridge. A little bit tricky with one eye, but I'll hang on to the handrail and continue along the lake. Here is some more terrain that's pretty tricky in 2 dimensions, so have to step a little bit carefully. But the sun is heading towards setting. Sunset is today going to be, I think, about 4:45. I'm not sure what time it is right now, but we'll see how much daylight we have left before it turns into a darker walk. The sun is just setting. We are still walking along the lake, and for the next couple of kilometers it's a narrow, twisty path along the lake that could be dangerous if it were dark, so I'm glad that it'll still be modicum of daylight out, and then the dark part will be okay because that's mostly known land and probably some streetlights as well. We'll see. There's somebody feeding the birds, and the birds are enjoying being fed. The little kid there and the mom, I guess. And it's still not completely dark, but the light is definitely going away from the lake right now. Soon though, very soon, we'll be crossing the bridge over the little river and entering into Lausanne. And there is the bridge into Lausanne. So I'll turn it off and then walk over it with it open in a minute or so. Okay, so let us walk across the bridge into Lausanne, and then I've got a little surprise coming up. So there's a bouncy little pedestrian bridge. And here we're coming to Aldimont Tower. So Aldimont Tower which is made to look like an ancient ruin, but it was really a lot newer than it looks, but it still has a semblance of age to it, 100 or so years, I forget exactly. But then the surprise that we're coming to is this crosswalk over here, where those cars are zipping across. So this is where I became a pirate nearly 3 years ago. I was coming down on my bicycle, coming down the street there, and a pedestrian walked out from behind that wall and just strode onto the street because the road was closed that day, and the pedestrian was listening, was crossing with his ears, and on the bicycle was not making any noise. So, as you can see, on a bicycle, he kind of stepped out from behind the trees, and I was cruising along. And there we go. The last thing I remember, I was making a decision whether to follow the bicycle path onto the sidewalk or stick on the road since it was so hard. And I ended up, the pedestrian walked right out here, walked right out behind these barriers, and I slammed on my brakes, and there was a trace of, and there were skid marks on the road, and then my blood was right at the very end of the crosswalk right there. So, I was then, I guess, brought over to here, and then the ambulance showed up pretty quickly, and that was that. So from where the accident site was at Tour d'Aldimont to home, the fastest route, if I were to go on the road that the bicycle would have taken, was 7 kilometers. So I'm not sure what exactly route I'll take. It'll be a little bit more than 7 kilometers, but we're at 36.5 kilometers now, so it'll be at least 43.5 kilometer walk, and it'll probably end up being closer to 44, 45 by the time I get to the grocery store, but we'll see what happens. So here we are now. I'm turning off away from the lake. I'm walking along the lake, but it's been dark and there's been no point in trying to do any video. Up there, maybe you can see there is a crescent moon, but that's not going to come out as good video. So I'm now leaving the lake for the very last time and heading, hopefully I'll make it to the grocery store on time. Let's see. And then I'll come back at some point, because there's no point in filming all of the nice stuff in Lausanne in the dark. So, but I do this walk in Lausanne often enough, usually on a half marathon on a Saturday. So I'll come back and film all that stuff and make hopefully a video that's interesting for seeing the more local landscape. Well, after all that racing, there was no salmon in stock, so I'll have to go and check and see what was going on. But now I have about a kilometer left to go home. I've been on about 43 and a half, so we'll see. It'll be less than 45, but more than 44. So, it is 7:15. I left at 10 to 7 this morning. Now it's 7:15 at night. Walking in, it's been 44.33 kilometers. Figure out miles in a while. 44 and a third kilometers. It is now 10 to 8. The walk in miles was 27.6, so I overshot the 26.2 for a marathon. And now I am home, and because I didn't actually manage to eat lunch on the way, but because of the closed burrito place. So I came home, grilled up some fish that have been waiting for me, and now it is time to eat and relax and be happy for a day well spent on marathon. And thank you. I'm glad that you were able to join with me.